On today's Business Matters, Apple is headed back to court. The tech giant was found in contempt last week of 2020 antitrust lawsuit, and it was brought by Epic Games. The online video game maker aimed to loosen Apple's grip over transactions in apps and how apps are distributed to customers. The judge said that Apple failed to comply with an injunction that allowed developers to steer customers to potentially cheaper non-Apple payment options. So Apple denies violating the court's order and is appealing. Meanwhile, Taiwan's president is calling for an end to reports claiming its government is in talks with the U.S. over foreign exchange rate policy. He says those reports are false. President Lai Ching-te took to the unusual step of weighing in with a video message. Lai said Taiwan's trade surplus with the United States is because of soaring demand for the island's tech products, and Taiwan has never been listed by Washington as a currency manipulator. That's after Taiwan dollar appreciated against the US dollar on speculation that the US asked Taiwan to allow its currency to appreciate as part of tariff talks. It's now at a more than 2-year high. And oil prices fell more than $1 a barrel today after OPEC Plus decided to expedite output hikes, causing concerns about excess supply with uncertain demand. OPEC Plus agreed on Saturday to speed up oil production hikes for a second consecutive month, raising output in June by 411,000 barrels per day. The increased output further reverses 2022 production cuts and will take the total combined hikes for April, May, and June as well to 960,000 barrels per day. Now, with 145% U.S. tariffs in place, some Chinese exporters may be using neighboring countries to avoid them. South Korea has noted a sharp increase where it was being used to bypass different tariffs during the first quarter of the year. That comes as ads on Chinese social media platforms are offering place of origin washing. One account says it will help exporters ship goods to countries like Malaysia. From there, it says it will get a new certificate of origin before shipping to the U.S. U.S. law requires goods undergo substantial transformation that adds value to qualify as the originating country. And in response to tariffs, China has encouraged exporters to ship goods meant for the U.S. to its home market. And the move could threaten to deepen deflation in the Chinese economy. The world's second largest economy is already being weighed down by weak consumption and excess capacity. And in recent years, China's surging exports had been offsetting a slumped property market and local government debt. The influx of goods could also erode companies' profits and could jeopardize employment. For the last 2 years, the consumer price index has held just above zero. That's the inflation gauge, but now has dipped into negative territory. So that's deflation. The last 2 months, it has reported decline. Hundreds of delays and cancellations happening each day at the busy and bustling Newark International Airport in New Jersey. From understaffing to old technology and construction, several factors are being blamed for this massive delays. Here's more.
Historic disruptions happening at Newark Liberty International Airport in New Jersey. The Transportation Department ranked Newark as the 14th busiest airport in the country last year. To show how bad the travel headaches are right now, on Sunday, more than 1/3 of all flights were delayed and more than 10% were canceled. Newark is a major hub for United Airlines. Its CEO, Scott Kirby, says the delays stem from a nationwide air traffic controller shortage. He says that was compounded by air traffic controllers walking off the job last week at Newark. On top of shortages, Secretary of Transportation Sean Duffy says there are technology failures in the system from outdated equipment. Duffy has pledged to implement a new state-of-the-art system across the country, but that will take years. He's also issued a plea for more air traffic controllers with a training completion bonus. To make matters worse, the airport is also in the middle of a regularly scheduled runway rehabilitation project. FAA Acting Administrator Chris Rocholu says the agency is using delays to slow the number of flights and keep everyone safe.
Meanwhile, Skechers is stepping from public to private. The shoemaker has agreed to be taken private for about $9.5 billion by 3G Capital. This is the biggest buyout in footwear history to date, and this comes after the company withdrew its annual results forecast last month and warned about fallout from tariffs on goods imported from China. Skechers was founded by CEO Robert Greenberg in 1992. Greenberg will continue to lead the company. The deal is expected to close in the third quarter of the year. 3G Capital is run by Brazilian billionaire financier Jorge Paulo Lemann. It's best known for its investments in food and drinks through companies such as Kraft Heinz. Big shoes to fill is an understatement, as Warren Buffett has announced his successor. In 1965, Buffett took over Berkshire Hathaway. At the time, it was a floundering textile mill. He transformed the company into an investing conglomerate worth more than $1 trillion. Berkshire's portfolio has nearly 200 businesses, from Geico Insurance to BNSF Railroad and See's Candies. At the end of Berkshire's annual shareholder meeting, Buffett said he would step down at the end of the year. He recommended Greg Abel to take his place. Abel is a 25-year veteran of Berkshire. And home sellers have a choice when they begin the process of selling their home. They can list it privately or publicly before sharing it on the multiple listing service, or MLS. However, there is a battle over private listings, and it's become the latest fight about the way homes are bought and sold in America. Leaders in the residential real estate industry argue the practice of listing privately is exclusionary and threatens as well to further chip away at consumer trust in real estate agents. One large real estate brokerage in particular, Compass, is being accused of pushing sellers into private transactions. And critics are saying that the private listing strategy unfairly pushes home sellers to make deals with buyers represented by other Compass agents. And it results in the brokerage collecting a commission from both sides of the transaction. Compass says it's simply a popular choice for sellers to choose to list their homes privately at first for discretion or to test the market, and that ultimately most of its listings are sold on the public market. President Trump said he would be open to another extension for TikTok. That's if a deal is not reached by the June 19th deadline to divest from its Beijing-based parent company ByteDance. Trump said he had a sweet spot for the app after it helped him win over young voters in the 2024 presidential election. Democratic senators argue that Trump has no legal authority to extend the deadline and suggest that the deal had been under consideration would not meet legal requirements. Trump has already granted 2 reprieves from enforcement of a congressionally mandated ban on TikTok. Lawmakers have expressed national security concerns over the app's ties to the Chinese regime, particularly regarding the exposure of user data and the potential for algorithm manipulation. And say goodbye to Skype because Microsoft is retiring the 2-decade-old internet calling service today. And Microsoft said the shuttering application will help it focus on its homegrown Teams service by simplifying its communication offerings. It was founded in 2003. Skype's audio and video calls quickly disrupted the landline industry in the early 2000s. The service touted hundreds of millions of users at its peak. Nevertheless, the platform struggled to keep up with easier-to-use and more reliable rivals, for example, Zoom and Salesforce's Slack. By 2020, Skype's number of monthly users fell to roughly 23 million. To ease the transition from the platform, users will be able to log into Teams for free and on any supported device using their existing information. Chats and contacts should transfer automatically. Alphabet-owned Waymo plans to add 2,000 more robotaxis to its fleet. It would bring its total robotaxi fleet to 3,500. Waymo's main markets are San Francisco, Los Angeles, Phoenix, and Austin. The company hopes to gain a presence in Atlanta, Miami, and Washington, D.C. by 2026. The company has reached an average of 250,000 paid passenger trips per week. Waymo outfits Jaguar vehicles for robotaxi usage at its Arizona factory. Next year, it would use a different vehicle manufacturer. President Trump says he's authorizing a 100% tariff on all movies produced outside of the U.S. He posted on Truth Social, quote, "We want movies made in America again." NTD's Sean Marshall has more.
President Trump on Sunday announced a 100% tariff on movies produced outside the country, just ahead of the 2025 Cannes Film Festival, where Hollywood was hoping to talk about the films, the stars, and the glamour.
But everyone's going to be talking about Trump and tariffs and the impact of this on the independent film industry. So maybe that was Trump's plan. Now he'll be the talk of the town in Cannes and not Tom Cruise.
Trump posted on his Truth Social platform, "The movie industry in America is dying a very fast death."
Yeah, the movie tariffs, what they've done is other nations have been stealing the movies, the movie-making capabilities from the United States. And I said to a couple of people, what do you think? I've done some very strong research over the last week, and we're making very few movies now. Hollywood is being destroyed.
Trump authorized the Department of Commerce and the U.S. Trade Representative to immediately begin the process of imposing a 100% tariff on any and all movies entering the United States that are produced in other countries. According to research firm ProPro, in 2023, about half of spending by U.S. producers on TV projects with budgets over $40 million went outside the U.S. Media strategist Brandon Katz shared his insights with NTD. How does this work? Hollywood wants more American-made films. The solution isn't tariffs on international movies, creating a provincial media tunnel, but better domestic tax rebates and economic incentives to make U.S. filmmaking financially viable, which spurs further production investment. But what are the incentives attracting film companies to make movies in other countries? One example can be found in Canada. Entertainment Partners, or EP.com, mentions that Nova Scotia and the Canadian Department of Communities, Culture, Tourism, and Heritage invested a combined $77 million into the Nova Scotia Film and Television Production Incentive Fund for 2024 to 25. That's just one Canadian province, and it doesn't include the hundreds of millions proposed to go into British Columbia foreign-funded film incentives. Trump's tariff announcement came as a surprise to Hollywood, so there are a lot of questions coming into the picture, like, do the tariffs apply to Netflix productions?
So is Squid Game, a Korean production, going to have tariffs applied to it, and will Netflix have to pull it from its U.S. service or charge American viewers more to watch Squid Game or The Crown or Money Heist or all these other international productions that streamers produce outside the United States? Even English language productions, a lot of them from the streamers are made outside of the U.S. Emily in Paris is a great example of that.
All major media companies, including Walt Disney, Netflix, and Universal Pictures, film overseas in countries such as Canada and the UK. Several recent major movies produced by U.S. studios were shot abroad, including Deadpool and Wolverine, Wicked, and Gladiator 2. Sean Marshall, NTD News.
Now, it's worth mentioning that The Hollywood Reporter says the White House issued a clarifying statement on the foreign film tariffs earlier today. It said that no final decisions on the tariffs have been made just yet, and that, quote, the administration is exploring all options to deliver on President Trump's directive to safeguard our country's national and economic security while making Hollywood great again. Okay, let's talk about markets now. S&P 500 today fell, and with that ending a 9-day winning streak, and that was its longest streak since 2004. So stocks including Netflix and Amazon dropped, and energy-led sector declines due to OPEC plus supply concerns. Berkshire Hathaway fell 5.1% after Warren Buffett announced plans to step down as CEO. But despite overall market declines, Skechers surged 24.3% after agreeing to a $9 billion buyout. And that's it for today on Business Matters.